welcome to Tiny Artist TV. This is my first YouTube video. We are going to be doing Aughost 2019. It's a recently new event. It's kind of in the vein of Inktober, November, those kind of draw-a-day events. I am going to try to consistently draw every day for the next 31 days. We'll see how that works with my schedule. Starting out, I was kind of playing around with the idea of doing a lock-shaped figure. As you can see, that didn't really work out. I immediately scrap it and start on something else. For the month of August, I do want to kind of draw things in the vein of Marty Alice LeGros. Those of you who are familiar with the Bees series, that was in the mid-2000s. It was really popular when I was in high school, and she was definitely a big influencer on my creepy, sketchy style. You'll probably see that more as I draw more and kind of get back into the groove of that. So she's kind of on the nose with her style of skeletons and ghosts and things in the nature of how they died. So with this, my inspiration was kind of a girl who had been locked away in some sort of unfortunate circumstance. In the initial sketch, I kind of gone with the chastity belt idea, that she had kind of died a virgin or died in an unhappy marriage, but I'm kind of a fan of marriage, and the design was not really working out, so I scrapped that one as well, and just go with this kind of kidnapped victim. And so she's still relatively young, but you see she's got the chains around her neck and around her arms and wrists, and she's just locked away. Later in the design, I do put a little sliver of light in the picture to kind of depict that she was in the small space of maybe a closet or a basement that had very little light coming through the floorboards. We do see here how she ended up dying in the midst of her being captured. She was shot in the forehead, and the bullet hole and the blood, the dried blood there, kind of make that lock insignia. I also played around with the idea of putting the lock insignia on her lipstick in that kind of Rococo style. And just a couple of other key and lock motifs, like the ribbons in her hair are tattered and key-shaped. Her tear is key-shaped. The tail of her ghostly figure is also key-shaped, and she's holding a small box, which initially I was going to have it open and kind of show her heart there to kind of go with the original chastity belt idea, but I decided to leave the box closed and just kind of leave it mysterious for the viewer to interpret what's in the box. Not a Seven reference, but there you go. And so as we just continue on to sketch out the ribbons and all of the little details, my favorite part of this, which we'll get to shortly, I love doing the chains. I actually used to hate drawing chains. Chains and feathers and lace. I love the aesthetic of them, but I hated drawing them, and I've recently found shorthand methods, and so doing the chains for this piece was just really, I don't want to say therapeutic, but it was definitely enjoyable. And just continuing to sketch out the hands, and there was an earlier bit where you saw I had struggled drawing the hands, because even though I've been doing art for over 15 years, hands are still kind of hit or miss, and a lot of artists can relate to that. Hands and faces and feet are some of the most difficult things to draw, simply for the fact that they're some of the most recognizable human figure features, because most everyone has them, and you know if a hand looks wrong or if a face looks wrong. Faces I've kind of gotten the hang of, but hands are still some of the simpler positions, ironically, are harder for me to draw. And here I'm just sketching out the hair, the braids, very simple style. Here we've got the blood from where her chains have been abrading on her wrist. I haven't given a timestamp on how long she may have been in captivity, but it's been some time. She's kind of gaunt. She's been starved. This is just we're getting off to a good start here with Aughost. Just morbidness all around. It's a good time here on Tiny Artist TV. Trust me, maybe some of the ghosts will be a little bit happier. The one I have planned for tomorrow, the aquatic theme, it's creepy, but I guess he's a little bit happier. So you'll see that when I upload that next. Just kind of feathering out the bottom of her dress here. I thought about maybe making that tattered too and putting some holes and things, but I still wanted to go with a simpler sketch for this. Just kind of going with the details there. Initially, I was also going to add a... Ooh, there's my little mistake. My cursor got a little wonky. I was going to add a kind of wallpapery key motif, but with this one, I kind of wanted to keep it simple. It's very easy for designs. When it's only line art, it's very easy for them to get very busy if you're not focusing on color, because a lot of times when you're working with color, you can add the smaller details in with different color, playing with light and shadow and tones and things of that nature. When it's just a sketch, when it's just black and white, sometimes just letting the art speak for itself is the best way to go. And there are some other color elements I play with later, just keeping it black and white and glowy. But for this one, I ended up just really liking the way the line art turned out, and how it really does feel like that M. Alice LeGros sketch gothic style. And here we can see I'm starting to play with the gradient and the lighting, and that idea of her being locked away in a dark space, and she's kind of luminescent here. And I do eventually scrap this. I want to keep all of my mistakes in, just for the sake of maybe not only giving people ideas of what they could do with their pieces, but also showing that, you know, it's a process. Like, I don't get everything, you know, right the first time. Sometimes when I spend a lot of time planning a piece out, it just goes super smooth. I can finish it quick. With pieces like this, I didn't really go in with the plan. I was just kind of playing around with the designs. And you can definitely see that here, where I'm trying to emphasize texture and lighting, and it just didn't end up working out. Maybe if I had done this in a different style or spent more time rendering out different elements, it could have worked, but for this one, not so much. Like, there are places where it works, and then there are other places where it just doesn't. And yeah, I just get rid of it altogether. Trying to add some highlights and give it a little more body, a little more depth. I'm still playing around with it, still holding out hope, and then I end up just getting rid of it, trying something new, trying a simple, ethereal, ghostly portal type of background, still highlighting the darker bits that kind of fade into the black. And then here is where I added that little bit of light, like it may have been coming through a floorboard or a small closet. And I play around with giving the line art itself a little bit of ghost fluff, if you want to call it that. I'm not quite sure what happened here. I think I got a text from work, and so I stopped to reply. And we're starting over again. Just doing a little bit of texture here, just to kind of give it some light to break up all that darkness, so you can still see the line art without it being overbearing. And I'm selecting the inversion so I can give her a little bit of glow. I think I end up getting rid of this as well, because it's still too bright for what I was trying to do with it. Although I did like it, it wasn't right for this particular piece. Maybe I can redo this effect on a later piece. But yeah, for this one, it was one of those things where it was just too much, just a little too much. So I'm still working with it, holding out hope once again that maybe the third time's a charm. I play around with a couple of filters and then I decide that I like this. And yeah. So I guess I actually did end up keeping that effect. And that's the end of that. So I just want to thank you all for watching my first video on Tiny Artist TV. Stay tuned for more.